What's up, everybody, and welcome back to this episode of the podcast. My name is Robbie Cassidy, and on this episode, we're going to look a bit deeper at the coaching element, how to, work with the client, and what we look for when we're working with somebody who is dealing with a recurring injury, a chronic injury, or a chronic issue. And I guess to kick it off, I'm putting this podcast together because I've had a lot of people question in the last couple of weeks, like, what would you do different? How do you approach it? And I want to just make sure I can clear up any issues that people have so they have a good understanding of, how we deal with these type of injuries and issues and how we help people get that independence and get their confidence back and get back into a life that they can exercise and live independently. Because you have to realize that when you're dealing with a chronic injury for a long time, that it becomes part of your identity, and how you approach life and how you approach scenarios is dependent on what you feel your body can handle. And you might not even realize, but you cut yourself short a lot of times. So I work with people who have everything. In the last couple of years, I've worked with people who have Friedreich's ataxia, multiple sclerosis, rheumatoid arthritis, osteoarthritis, chronic back pain, rotator cuff repairs, bulging discs, every type of issue you could believe, ankylosing spondyloarthritis. We have everything, okay? And we kind of implement a system, and the system for dealing with these chronic issues is pretty similar. Obviously, you have changes along the way, but the system is pretty similar, especially if you're dealing with something that includes more of a flare-up approach or a flare-up type of an injury. So who do we work with? As I've said, any type of a chronic condition, but really it's people who have done bits, or they've had an injury, they've had a back pain, or they've had a knee pain or a shoulder pain, and when they try to go back to exercise, because they're exercising in the past, each time you do, your body flares up again and again, and now what happens is you start second guessing every step. So we work with people who are missing exercise because an injury or pain is keeping them out. They used to go to the gym or Pilates or yoga, or they may have had a sport that they loved. And if this is you, you could be in a position now that you don't, it's not that you don't want to train anymore, but every time you try to return, your body kicks up. You feel like you're back at square one and you don't know what you did wrong. But your goal is to have freedom. You had freedom before, you had independence before, but now there's more to it. It's not just the pain, but it's actually the fear of pain. It's the doubt, the frustration, the feeling that nothing is working for you and things are only going to get worse. And this is really for the person who misses exercise and wants to get back to it and is willing to make the change. So if that sounds like somebody who you are or once were or are trying to get back to, then this podcast will hopefully help. So I'm going to try to keep it short and sweet and just kind of go over the main things, because there's a lot that we could cover in this. And when we're working with people, it's like a 24-week long program on our one-to-one, our select program. Or if we're working with people in the case of the back pain back to exercise, it's a 14-week program. Now, the thing is that when someone comes on board with us, we're not looking for this military soldier. We're not looking for somebody who's going to be absolutely just 100% all of the time, because we understand that most people are dropping off a plan because the plan itself expects them to act like a full-time athlete. Now, we do have professional athletes as well on board, but the majority of people that we work with are people who are family people. They have jobs, they have bills, and they have life, and they have responsibilities that they need to be able to keep on top of. And I think that it's important to make that point, because sometimes people come to me and they say, I don't know if I'd be a good fit because of the fact that I'm not an athlete. Well, we don't expect you to be. As if you're missing exercise or you're missing activities that you love, then it's a perfect fit. But as I said, we don't expect you to be 100% all of the time. And that's why we try to make things as simple and as clear as possible. If this happens, you do this. If that happens, then you do that. And we look to plan around your busy weeks. Work in times where we actually have space in your week and plan the sessions around your life. Because our goal is for you to be 80%. That's what we say. It's 80% correct each week and each month. And if you're 80% in the right direction, I'm happy. And that means sometimes you'll lessen the load, and other times you'll be consistent, because direction is way more important than speed. And you don't need to be perfect. You just need a plan that's going to be working with your real life. So we have had such good results by applying that 80% rule. And the reason being is that, let's say I'm working with a guy who wants to get back to the gym, but he has a back injury. And then part of his back injury is that there's a lot of fear and anxiety, and there's a lot of stress. And he finds that stress and that fear and the anxiety often drives him to have behaviors and habits that aren't so aligned to the direction that he's going in. He might binge eat. He might smoke. He might go or drink heavy on the weekends. So I'm not going to say to him, right, we need you because, and let's say he's running a business. I'm not going to say, we need you to now be 100% and not do any of that anymore. And people say, why not, Robbie? You're crazy to do that. Well, because I know it's not sustainable. And for a chronic issue to improve, you have to have sustainability. That has to be at the core of your program. So in that case, what we'll say with the 80% rule is we'll say, we'll look at the systems, we'll look at the life, we'll look at where things are falling down. We'll say, okay, well, this is a Thursday through Sunday problem. Like, you're good for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So for us to be 70 to 80% correct over the month, if we just correct the Thursday night first, and then that gives us 3 days that were bad and 4 days that were right, and then the next day we can look at correcting, or the next week I should say, we can look at correcting the Thursday and the Sunday. And this is like the reason I'm saying this is an actual example that I've used recently with a guy. Then we correct Thursday and Sunday, and you still have your Friday and Saturday to be enjoying yourself. You're not like this 100% disciplined all the time. You still have your Friday and Saturday. And then you'll see that over time, you can start to improve. And over the space of 4 months, this guy lost 20 kilo and was able to get back into rugby, and he was able to get back into the gym, and he was able to get back into different exercises and activities that he liked. And it was from such a simple style of a program. We had everything laid out from a structure perspective, and then we just wanted him to be 80% right. Okay, if he missed a day, that's okay. And in some weeks, he was 100%. Some weeks we jump on and they became more common as we were going through it. So it's really important to have that mindset and that perspective going into it, that it's okay if you fall off a day or two. It's okay if you have flare-up. We expect you to have flare-ups. But it's about how you react to them, and it's about how we can manage them over the space of the 24 weeks. Now, if we look at the 4 pillars of our program, it's grounded in structure, clarity, accountability, and support. And these are the things that we feel have the biggest impact on the people who come in. Okay? Because most people I speak to, they've already tried physio, they've already tried chiros, they've already tried YouTube exercises and injections, and they've never really had the level of structure, clarity, the accountability, or even support all in one place. And they say that all the time. It's the combination of the 4 that really makes up, because one leans on the other. And this is how we've been so successful with getting people who have been in pain for 10 years or longer and afraid to do anything in case it gets worse, back to a place where they can turn their health around, get to the activities they're missing, and actually build a stronger body for the future. Because you as well, you can look forward to the future. There's light at the end of the tunnel. You can improve. You can get back. If you want to just go to, I'll drop a link and you can look at the testimonials of people who've come through this. Or I post them on Instagram at @RobbieCassidy_. I post them all the time. We have significant results just from using these 4 pillars. And then it's the same thing. You just make sure that you're in the right direction, lean on these, and you'll find that things start to improve. So why does structure make such a difference? Well, the thing is that if you go to your physio, your chiro, or your consultant, a lot of times you're going to get a little bit of advice. Do this, do that. be careful with this. Don't bend. Don't pick things up that are too heavy. But you never really get a clear structure. You get handed a sheet of exercises, but there's no real context. There's no real plan or no roadmap as to what you're trying to get to. So what we do is we focus on normalizing everything first so we can start to isolate patterns. Because too often people are given exercises to target the areas but have literally no backup plan for it at all. It's like the physio expects them to be 100% because these exercises have worked before. And their life and their responsibilities are not considered. And there's no structure given to how to actually approach it. So we first start by rebuilding structure, because without it, everything else is going to start feeling random and it's going to start feeling unsafe. And then when we look at the pillar, then the next one of clarity, what does that mean? Well, you shouldn't have to feel like you're guessing every time that you move, because that's what actually builds fear. It's the gap in between the confusion and the clarity. Understanding what's going on and how to address it is so important. So when you're dealing with a chronic issue, it's going to take a while for it to resolve. I'm not going to lie and say, you do these exercises, you're going to be good to go. It's been there for 10 years. It's going to take a little bit of time to get it right. And it's not going to just happen that out of nowhere, you're going to be 100% confident with it again. While you're working through it, you want to know how to do it safely. You want to know when to push on and when to pull back. What is a good pain to work through? What is a bad pain? When should you stop and rest versus when should you put the head down and say, right, I'm reprogramming here. We need to build. What do you do when you have a flare up? What do you do when you want to try something new out? One of your friends said, let's go for a hike. Do you have to wait till your next physio appointment to ask them? How do you build up to that? How should you plan your week and plan your sessions? Without knowing these, you'll constantly run into fear. You're going to constantly run into anxiety as to what's actually going on and why it's getting worse. So the thing is that the majority of plans, and when people come to us, the problem they've run into is they've been left asking questions. And it's like it's a common problem of, and I get this on literally every call where someone says to me, oh, I said, do you have any questions? And they'll say, I do, but I can't remember what they are. And I'll say, grand, just text me after if they come into your mind. Because having to remember everything on the spot right there and then can be really challenging. And I understand that. So I don't expect you to. So that's why we give you the clarity on the call, and then we also support you after the call. So most plans, as I said, are going to leave you asking questions. Our plan is built to give you answers before you even ask them. Now, when we look at accountability, why do we want to incorporate this? Well, when motivation fades, as it will, accountability is going to keep you showing up. It's not guilt, it's not fear, but it's just support. It's just us there making sure that you are okay. Normally when you go home, you have your sheet of exercises. If you go to physio, life gets in the way, the exercises go in the drawer and nothing's remembered until you go to the next physio appointment. But what we do is we try to make sure that you are on track with the one-to-one calls, with our group calls, and through messaging as well. So when you have this accountability partner, you have a way higher chance of success. You're working together to achieve a goal. You set it out for yourself. So it's not that it's just a rehab plan. There's a relationship there, and it's completely built around your goals and what you want to get back to. Now, support is the last pillar, and this is what holds it all together. Because as I said before, you go and you have your questions, you go on a call and you feel like, okay, right, I should ask these questions, and then you forget the questions. What do you do then? You shouldn't feel alone when your body's in pain. And that's what a lot of people who come to us tell us, is that they feel alone, they feel isolated. But too many people do. They are left alone, left guessing between sessions and waiting for answers. So throughout the journey, you can ask questions, you can get clear answers, and you can be supported. Too often, when they come to us, they feel in the past that they haven't been heard, or they haven't been listened to. And when they needed it, they had no one to rely on. So in our one-to-one program, I just give you my WhatsApp. If you need anything, you can just text me, shoot me a message whenever you want, at any time of the day. And then I will follow up to you. And as I say to them, look, I'll follow up within like 12 or 24 hours generally. But if it's an emergency, that you can put urgent at the top. If it's a real emergency, you call 911. Because with the majority of things, we already have videos that you can just follow through on. But I'm always there to support and just to make sure you're on track. And like, how does this in real time? How does this happen? Well, someone is doing something, they bend over, a flare up kicks off, and the fear kicks up, the emotions are high. What do? You shoot me a text, I tell you this is what you focus on, or I can send you a video to go through it. You might say, as I said earlier on, one example that came up, a friend might say, or a client friend would say, I have a sevens tournament at the weekend, football, can I jump in on that? And I'll say, this is how we plan around it. Or someone might say, we have a 5K park run, can I fit that into the plan? It's in 2 weeks. And I'll say, perfect, this is what we'll do to manage that and to work through it so that you can enjoy it and it's not going to be a slog. And that is so important. You're always supported. You can ask questions at any stage. And if you run into difficulty, which you will, you actually have somewhere to turn. You're not waiting for the next appointment. So all of this is about making sure you're moving in the right direction, making sure that you actually feel supported along the way. And that's why when you join, you'll have my WhatsApp. You have real conversations, you get real guidance, and you get real support. And honestly, that is a structure with how we coach clients. That's why it works so well, and that's why it's different to acute physio, where you get your exercises, you do your exercise, you come back in 2 weeks, you get a massage, you do your dry needling. It's completely different. It's an entire restructuring of, in a lot of cases, your wellness, your health, and your life. And what we do and what we have at the core of our program and at the core of our programs is the biopsychosocial model. So the biological, we address movement, we address load, we address recovery, and how your body actually adapts. The psychological, we change the story that you've been told and the one that you're telling yourself, because you probably don't realize, but when you're constantly saying, I have a bad back, my family have had bad backs, that is a limiting belief that is restricting your ability to really grow out of this. And we need to address that. And all of the time on calls, I'll be catching people for that. Like, I work with people who are at every level, who run their own businesses, who are in professional sports, who are just doing their own activities because they love it, going for high roxes, people with PhDs, lawyers, doctors, across the board, at every level. And the thing is that on a call, they'll say something. They'll say something like, my bad side. And then I'll let it run on. And then I'll call it back. And I'll say, that's not a bad side. It's your affected side. We're improving it. We're developing it. Because we have to work on that. The social then is really important also. Because we help you to set boundaries with work, with family, and habits that are keeping you stuck. Because you don't realize that if people are constantly saying to you, how's your back getting on? Oh, you need to be careful of your back. You need to be able to respond, because if you don't have a response to that, you're going to go into yourself and you're going to start overthinking it, and then that drives anxiety and it can drive flare-ups. So we look at it from every single aspect. Therefore, if you are tired of going in circles, if you've done everything right, but you still feel like your body is failing you, you don't need to do more. You just need to do something different. And honestly, these systems can really break the cycle. So if you need any help at all, we would be happy to help. You can contact me an email at info@themobilitytutor.com, or you can just reach out to me on Instagram at RobbieCassidy_. Lastly, LinkedIn works really well too. It's just Robbie Cassidy. Send me a message, say you listen to the podcast, you need help, and I'll be happy to jump on a call, chat through everything, go into detail on what needs to be done, lay out a bit of a plan, and we can see if you're fit then for whichever program we have. I do appreciate everyone who listens to the podcast. Thank you so much. It's great to hear people are contacting me as well, and just we can talk through the podcast and talk through different topics and different concepts. I'm always happy to do that. And yeah, check out the YouTube as well. I go into more detail on certain videos there. But But if you're looking for this system, you need help, if you want to break the cycle, just reach out. And if you feel someone else will benefit from this podcast, I would love if you could send it on. Thank you so much for listening. I'll chat to you all at the same time next week. Have a good one.